No more balls, baby. No more balls. Good morning, everybody. All right, today we've got the CJ back in the garage and we need to try something. Now, you've heard me talk about putting the oxygen sensor back in, that this thing, well, I think you've heard me. This thing, I was, without it, it's kind of flying blind. When we took it to Windrock a few months ago, it had a high idle. That was like the day I finished throwing this stock TBI injection system back in it. And since then, it's done better. Recently playing around a month or so ago during the last snow, and it seemed to be doing pretty good. It was idling good. So I'm like, I'm not really sure. It could be the throttle, not the throttle position sensor. It could be the temperature sensor. If it's not reading accurately, it could be sending into like a limp mode and therefore reading -40 all the time and overfueling the whole time, which I've had that happen before. Not on this, but on another one, and that's what I'd come up with. Now, this sensor wasn't all that old when I originally installed it, but it has been a few years, and it really didn't get used a whole lot. Let me show you what sensor I'm talking about. All right, so right here, I don't know if you guys can see that, is the throttle position, not throttle, I keep saying that, the temperature sensor, which helps the computer to know what to do. So it can either add fuel or decrease fuel based on engine requirements or needs, and that's all based on temperature. So anyway, what we are going to do is install this. Now, based on what I've come up with, this system was originally a one-wire, best that I can tell, oxygen sensor, and we're going to try to install that. The downside is I do not have a bung to weld in, not new, and I need one, but I know that the exhaust that was in the truck in which I harvested this out of, anyway, it has what I need. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go back across the frozen tundra because we just received a whole bunch of snow. All right, we got to get over there. Stuff's pretty deep. Oh, it's still got the heated one in it. I thought I removed that. Got this in here. This has got a brand new 3-wire sensor in it. This was, from my understanding, is for a 4.3. The 3 wires just indicate that there's a ground, a feed, a 5-volt reference feed, and then I assume another hot wire, I think is what it is. So what it does is it heats up the element. I think it just makes things happen a little faster. I really don't understand the purpose. Maybe you guys could do, and you can explain it to me in the comments. So I'm not fully convinced the O2 sensor is going to solve my problem on here, but we're going to do it just to eliminate as a possibility. Right now we need to see if we can get this thing out of there. So I'm going to give it a little bit. I'm not going to give it a whole lot. It's either going to come loose or it's not. If it don't, we're going to apply heat and go that direction, which is probably what's going to have to be done here. But let's just see. Oh, yeah, Yeah, baby. I can't believe that actually came out of there. Well, I guess it's not out yet. That feels good. I think we're golden. All right. I can't believe that actually came out of there. Must have been just enough anti-seize in there when it was originally in. Alright everybody, we are back doing things and stuff. I don't know what you're going to be able to see and not see. Got to get these bolts off. When I built this exhaust, I built it in sections for maintenance purposes. So hopefully it will allow that. So, and hopefully I don't have to replace any gaskets, because I didn't buy any. So that's a pretty good reason. And if I remember right, this was not really all that easy to get in here. All right, whew. After some fighting with this thing and the bolts, which I probably should have anti-seized these up here by the header before I installed them, but apparently I didn't. So it created me some problems. Looks like I'm gonna have to do some weld repair where I had to torch cut. I'll fix that. I'll fix this spot here a little bit. I don't want it cracking out on me later. And this was a self-clearancing by the drive shaft, so we're all good there. Not gonna worry about that. All right, so the reason for getting this thing out, let me get some stuff cleared out of the way here. Was so I could get this O2 bung welded down in there. It should go somewhere right in there. Yeah, I think it's like 10 degrees, not quite top center. Oh, but I got to cut a hole first to accept this whole piece. There we go. That's a big hole. That should work. All right, we've got it. All right, we've got it tacked into place. We got a little bit of a hole issue up this way. I kind of tested it when it was in the Jeep to make sure it was going to fit at a decent angle. Should fit. If it don't fit, we're going to redo it. Stuff has worked pretty good for me. It's 2000 degree ceramic coating, aluminum paint. Good for stuff like this. It's kept this exhaust in pretty good shape. So, and it hasn't taken a whole lot to keep it there, so I like it. But anyway, this thing is ready to go back in. Next step, I got to go to town and get some bolts. We'll let this paint dry and get it bolted back in. next step would be that oil leak. So over here, pull the harness back out of the firewall, which I gotta permanently mount this a little bit better anyway. And I had to sift back through the wiring, and I was able to use a program, or I found me a good pinout location, and I was able to narrow down which wire was my O2 sensor, which drives me crazy because I've run these without O2 sensors before and they've done pretty good, and I've not had that same problem that I've had here before. We're gonna, like I said, we're gonna try it. Hopefully it fixes my problem. I'm giving it about a 20% chance, which is quite generous. But if not, at least it's in there, and we'll know that that's not a problem, and maybe it's something else, and we'll have to hunt that down. But I'm not going to worry about it because it will run the other way, and it will get me by until I can figure it out. Anyway, this purple wire, I believe it was like A10 in the pinout, is the single wire O2 sensor. There's two pinouts in that harness connector. I think it was the red one, and one's a ground and one's a signal reference or whatever it is for the O2 sensor itself. And this is the only wire that runs to that sensor. It's a very simple one wire. All right, we're back. Had to run to town to get a couple of items. One of the things I had to get was this exhaust hanger. Mine had cracked, and the muffler hanger, whatever you want to call it, fell out. So we needed a new one of these. And we got us some replacement hardware because I had to cut a few of the bolts. They were fine thread. And the only other thing I'm going to do differently is I'm going to try these coarse threads and see how they hold in there. I do have lock washers. I don't know if they're going to hold very well, but we're going to try them. And I'm going to anti-seize these, so hopefully they don't, you know, get stuck in there. If they start to loosen up and back out and they don't want to stay tight, I did buy some fine threads, replacement fine threads, and I'll start putting those in their place if I need to. Anyway, let's get this thing back in here. I want to get the exhaust in, the wire run, O2 sensor hooked up, and that'll be a big task. And then maybe tomorrow we will work on the oil leak, or maybe we'll just ignore it and throw some oil in it. All right, we've got everything hooked up. We'll still have to button some stuff up. Fingers crossed this makes some sort of difference. I don't know if we're going to see much of a difference, especially right away, as the ECM's going to have to learn everything again because it's been unplugged for days. I just got the battery hooked back up to it, got the computer hooked back up. It's just laying loosely in the floor. O2 sensor is hooked up, just kind of there. Exhaust is all bolted back in. Oil leak is still existent, and may end up staying for a little bit longer. Let's see if we can fire this thing up and see how it acts. To hook up the throttle position sensor. I need to do that. That seemed to idle it down, so that's good. Burning off some lubricant spray I had on the exhaust, getting bolts out. I don't know. think it's kind of working. I couldn't do that with throttle position sensor hooked up before. Seems a little happier at the moment. Alright, so that didn't really fix the problem. It did bring the idle down, which was good. I was trying to do a throttle position sensor relearn. I find it hard to believe that sensor's bad, but I guess I'm gonna have to figure out how to do the test process on it. And there is some adjustment, but I don't really think that's a problem either. But I'll have to try it. I don't know if I'll have a chance in the next day or two. Worst case, I go back to the old system, which is no throttle position sensor, and just don't even worry about it. Been tinkering with it a little bit off and on for several days when time has been allotted. Anyway, I've had this issue ever since I put this stock TBI fuel injection system back on this TBI motor a couple months ago. I threw it on in like 5 days trying to figure it out. I'm not a smart man.
I'm not a smart man.
This is not easy for me to figure out, but I did get it figured out. One of the problems that I did have is it ran rich. It didn't want to run. It'd start and idle just fine, but did not want to accelerate. It'd bog out as soon as you hit the throttle pedal. Anyway, after some creative AI diagnostics, finally got it narrowed down, and I'm taking it as a win, baby. Taking it as a win. Let me show you. Sure. And it's doing good. Did a couple of things. One big thing was I finally got a fuel gauge on there that reads within the range that I needed. My fuel system is still not ideal, and I'll correct that at a later date. But now I know what kind of fuel pressure I'm pushing. That was not necessarily the problem, but it is better now. Let me fire this thing up. I'm like, you don't even know how excited I am at the fact that this is working. Anyway, let me get the keys out here. Let you all listen to it. See, is it gonna make me a liar? Ooh, ooh, ooh. Listen, 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 listen. Listen to that. Hang on in there. Ready? Ready? No more balls, baby. No more balls. Woo! That's a win, baby. That is a win for me. Huh. Even a blind squirrel finds an acorn once in a while. Or even the sun shines on a dog's rear end once in a while. That is a super win. I'm excited. I'll tell you more later in a later video. Anyway, that's it for tonight. Appreciate every one of you guys. Like, follow, and subscribe. Hope to see you in the future. Peace out, guys.